Welcome to Unframe. We provide customized SaaS AI native solutions to the enterprise in a matter of days. Yes, you heard that right. Days, not weeks, not months, not eventually. In a matter of just that, days. Now, while we can be truly anything to anyone, today we're going to dig into the specifics on retail and what we're seeing in the market, how we can deliver really impactful, compelling solutions very quickly and effectively and accurately. We'll get into a few customer stories of how we've actually done this in the wild. So before I actually get into some of the nitty gritty details, a little background on Unframe. We were founded in 2024, have raised $50 million to date from great investors like Bessemer and Kraft. Our founding team are repeat founders. They previously founded No Name Security, which was an API security firm they sold to Akamai for $500 million. And I say that because security is truly in our DNA. There's no security question or questionnaire or anything like that we could not say yes to. And it is truly because that is part of our foundation. Already working with some great enterprises out there. It's a very exciting time to be at Unframe. And I'm excited to talk more about how we're applying this to retail specifically. So one of the first things that we've observed over many, many interactions with retailers that pretty much span across every product and space is that while there's so much access to data in a PIM, in an ERP, in a CRM, across invoices and provider documentation, so much data is there, but revenue is slipping through the cracks. And the real reason for that is because there's a delay in how quickly you can act on that data. So it's one thing to say, hey, I have so much data, let me take a look at it. And it took me a month to gain a single insight. By that point, it's too late. And so according to IHL Group, up to 4% of revenue is lost solely from stockouts, solely from inventory challenges that lead to empty shelves. And now 4% is a big number when you think about the grand scheme. But the real goal here is to identify the key areas within retailers where we can likely have the most impact. And there are a few listed here. The market reality is that inventory is arriving late. It's unpredictable. Things that are selling well are not being reordered quickly enough. Things that are poorly selling are not being marked down quickly and well enough. And that big chunk in between, the belly of the inventory, is being ignored. And so without having the right level of insight and being able to actually talk to my data, I can't really make quick decisions, and that leads to problems. I have so many disparate systems. I have so many different providers. I have tool sprawl, so a lot of different tools that provide different small solutions. How can I actually make all of this data work for me? The answer is to use something like Unframe. No system is telling you what you need to do in time to act, right? And so it doesn't do any good to have access to information you can't respond to. And because of the fragmentation and delayed decisions, their direct, very strong revenue impacts, it makes creating a business case for a purchase of this nature very, very simple and straightforward. Because the impact is directly related to availability of product, sell-through of product, margin of product, and service level agreements with customer and provider bases, it makes drawing up an impactful use case really easy. If decisions are delayed and signals are missed, execution is manual, none of these things are good. And we can all agree on that. Now, I will pause here for a second in that we can all agree AI is good. The application of real, actual, impactful AI solutions is missing because your options to do so are quite limited. So first and foremost, you could rely on building internally. You have these issues, there is opportunity to unlock, but how do I get there? How do I do it? How do I make it happen? How do I have it come to life? Well, you might want to build a team. Your team knows your business inside and out. Who better than to build something than them? The thing there is, A, that's not necessarily their core competency. And B, your demand is so high for different use cases that you have this kind of ceiling of what your internal team can accomplish. It leads to a massive backlog. Every request just ends up on something you're waiting on eventually. And again, at Unframe, we don't believe in eventually. We believe in delivering solutions in a matter of days. Another option is you've identified some areas of opportunity across the enterprise. Well, Let's go shopping, right? Let's go shopping for solutions that solve problem one, problem two, problem three, problem 20. And at the end of the day, that might actually work for certain things. You get some quick wins. Maybe they're a little bit small in impact, or maybe they're not, but they're not customized to you. And so going out shopping, getting something off the shelf as a generic tool means you will likely get generic results. And so what happens? You're right back in the first bucket of internal team managing tools, customizing tools, trying to make them fit your need because they were built one size fits all. At Unframe, we believe that customization is key. It leads to higher accuracy, it leads to more business impact, and ultimately higher adoption. Because if your teams, the business users on the ground, don't believe that this is actually accurate and going to work and help them do better, they're not going to use it. And then what was the point? Now, what do we believe a total AI program should look like within an enterprise? Firstly, it should be unified, top-down, all-encompassing. We should not be trying to point the spear at a number of different things. And why is that? Well, it's because different tools don't talk nicely to each other. They don't have a shared knowledge layer, shared intelligence and governance and security protocols and access controls. And the list can go on, but a lot of that is completely separate. They don't have the same contract terms. They don't have the same product owners and administrators. It's totally separated, and that's why it's outside of the unified program. You want to think about implementing effective AI solutions in a way in which is part of a unified strategy. And even if that means starting with one little thing or building certain things yourself and using vendors for other things, it should be very well ingrained into the total package. Sharing context, sharing knowledge, sharing governance, and everything that's outside of that's probably going to create a mess. So how does our process work? It's really simple, actually. The first thing we want to do is identify the right use case. The right use case means it has high impact, high complexity, broad reach within the organization. We can very clearly tie it to success criteria and business outcomes that matter. That's the right use case to start with. Not the only one, but the right one. Now, once we understand this, really after a call or two, it's nothing crazy, we then go build you a solution in a matter of days that is something you can touch and feel. It's not a mock-up, it's not a prototype, it's not a screenshot. It's something that uses whatever data set we have agreed to determine success. Right? So if you have a challenge in inventory intelligence, give us access to some inventory data. Can we prove to you that we built something really compelling in a few days? At that point, you become a customer and the sky's the limit. Any change made in that use case can be made within the commercial structure. By the way, side note, we charge per use case per year, all you can eat buffet style. No per user, no per seat, per token, per credit, per integration, per PS hour, nothing of that nature. Just, we understand this use case. Here's the price for it once we've proven that we can deliver. Do you agree or not? Now, once we have more use cases, we rerun this entire thing. And as you can see in area number 3, we're able to reuse and repeat and recycle the same intelligence layer so we can deliver very accurate results at lightning speed. Compare that to you building separate solutions internally or buying separate solutions externally. We're going to be light years faster, right? And that's the general process. Another side note on the technical pieces here. Our platform can integrate with anything, any API, any data source. It doesn't matter. Any SaaS platform, any repository, wherever this information is, we can ingest it and we can push to it. Also, going back to the security point, we are enterprise grade in a way I've never seen before. You can host the solution on-prem, totally on-prem. You have a server room, stick it in there. Your own private cloud instance, sure, go for it. You want a private link connection to your private Azure? Let's do it. Or fully SaaS by us, great. We are super flexible in the way you can deploy the solution because we are security first, right? We want to make sure that we are making this as easy of a decision as possible, removing as much friction and blockers as possible to get you from this idea point knowing you have a thing you want to accomplish, to having something accomplishing it in the shortest amount of time possible. Because I'll tell you now, your competition is not waiting around to see what happens. They're acting in some way, and it's time for you to as well if you haven't already. Now, this creates sort of a flywheel compounding advantage as we think about example use cases within the retail space. So, if you have challenges with your communication with suppliers, for example, I can talk about this at length later on in the deck. But if you have those challenges that you can address and you can better communicate with suppliers, well, that's going to directly impact how well you can manage your inventory planning and what you're reordering, how often, which SKUs are performing, which ones aren't, which ones are selling through which rate, etc. But all kind of piggybacking on, I can talk to my suppliers better. I can understand invoicing and things like that better. I can understand potential shortages better. And lastly, all of that compounds to better promotion planning. If I can identify what is selling and how I can predict my suppliers giving me that, like what is selling, I can better create more effective promotions. And on the flip side of that, more effective markdowns to get rid of inventory that's just going to sit there and take up dead space. So we want to make sure that all of this is intertwined and all of it is having impact across the entire motion, the entire process here, and not just one little tiny component of it while the others are still broken. So let's dive into a couple of examples of customers here. And Dorothy Gaynor is one that I work with specifically. And they are part of a larger organization called Haber Holding. They are one of the largest retailers, brick and mortar retailers of shoes in Mexico. And so I want to take a second to talk about that, right? The magic of Unframe being customized is we didn't have to worry about localization or understanding the nuance of how they're operating in Mexico or anything of that nature. Is just something we can automatically ingest into Dorothy Gaynor's specific solution, which might be different than a retailer in New York City or in Texas or in California, right? And so customization, again, top of mind. Now, what was their issue? They were managing all of their inventory and sales and commercial metrics in a homegrown system that was fairly manual to manage. I was actually pretty impressed with how they built from scratch the system that they had. But despite how advanced it was, they were still missing out on a ton of key metrics and key signals that they could not act on because they were just not available. Think if I have 2,000 plus SKUs in this really complex system, I'm looking at what's selling well in a certain location, certain store, certain size, but I'm not seeing 85% because it's that many rows of where the little areas of opportunity are. They're like hidden gems, right? Because not everything is going to have the exact same, checkbox across the board. Some we want to order and move to different locations if it's a boot versus if it's a high heel, using it as an example. And so they were doing this very, very manually, taking hours and hours and hours and just completely missing opportunities to reorder things that were moving, see where the things were in the belly that they could act on, and the things that flat out were not moving at all. Let's mark them down. Let's get rid of them. And let's refocus on the new SKUs, new supplier availability, etc. And for them, it meant a 41.7x ROI on what they spend with us. And that's only Dorothy Gaynor. That's not the other 4 or 5 retail entities within Haber Holding that are also leveraging the solution for the exact same purpose. So they're reducing the amount of inventory that is not selling, the tail, by 35%. Get it out of here. They're improving revenue, obviously. And all of this as a next step, what we're going to build for them next is more things around dynamic pricing and being smarter about what they can increase, what they can decrease, when, how often. And for them, this is a very, very clear business case. And we delivered this in a matter of a few days. From when they told us the problem to when they had something in place, it was a matter of a few days. We had to get some access to their data, of course. But compare that to them trying to build this on their own, impossible. Or go out to the market and find the perfect fit for a retailer in Mexico, good luck. And we were able to really help them here. So I'm really proud of this story. They're a close account to my heart. And I look forward to working on more use cases with them in the future. Now, this customer here, different space, manufacturing, but as we all know, manufacturing and retail, we could consider cousins, right? First cousins, not exactly the same, but some relative similarities there. And so for them, this was much more on a supply chain optimization exercise. And think about the thousands of POs that they're getting via email. They're managing in spreadsheets. And what was happening was because it was such a backlog of digging through all these manual documents, they were not able to see where their suppliers were saying, hey, we're out of X. It's going to be a while before we can get Y. And so what does that create? This massive clog in their overall supply chain, which has a downstream effect, as we discussed before, on inventory planning, on promotion planning, and ultimately on revenue, sell-through rates, overall performance. And so now, via some very complex abstraction, we're able to monitor all of these comms, even if they're in unstructured data formats, and surface the insights, even in natural language, that they might need to know to make decisions, flagging at-risk orders like anomaly detection before they impact actual, real-life inventory levels, automating follow-ups, but maintaining their way in which they work, right? We don't want to come in and completely disrupt how they operate day to day. We just want to we want to empower it. We want to supercharge it. And this was a really good way to do that. Now we're talking about way more visibility into their overall supply chain, but it really is, you're not having stockouts. You're not having empty shelves. And what does that mean when you have an empty shelf? It means dead air. It's like if we're watching TV and the screen goes blank for 5 minutes. You're going to look at that show like, maybe I don't want to watch this show again. Same thing. That's a problem for them. So they reduced that by 30%. And their time to display from when they order to it's on the shelf was greatly reduced because they're able to act. When new things are offered, they're able to, pull the trigger where they see opportunity. And so now they have fuller shelves with better, objectively better products on them. And their customers are ultimately going to be a lot happier. Not to mention the people who are manually managing all of these processes. So as a next step, if you want to reach out, let's pick one key use case. It could be across observability, BI, analytics, abstraction of unstructured data. It could be around agentic workflows. Whatever that thing is, I do truly mean what I say when I say unframed can be anything for anyone. If you were to write a letter to Santa and it had one thing on it that you would really want to fix because it had maximum impact, all you have to do is write that letter and tell it to us. And we can be like Santa and go up to the North Pole and build the toys and come down the chimney and deliver the solution you need in a matter of days. Let us know. Happy to help.